What is up, football fans from the GoMileHigh.com studios? It's time for another edition of Footballguys TV. I'm your host, Cecil Lammey. Let's take a look at the latest news and notes from around the National Football League. That has got to be the happiest mugshot ever, Rob. Look at him. Adrian Peterson arrested recently for resisting arrest. That is a head scratcher. Aren't we all resisting arrest at this time? But the point is this. Listen, Adrian Peterson, not known as a troublemaker, so, the truth will come out on this situation. He allegedly shoved a police officer when he was him and his family asked to leave a nightclub during closing time. Reportedly took 3 officers just to get him arrested. When everything comes out, we'll see where he stands with the National Football League. As of right now, I don't expect any fines or suspensions coming from the league. In fact, this is something that may likely get tossed out in court. For fantasy purposes, this doesn't mean avoid Adrian Peterson. This means, pick him up if he slides a little bit, of course, in your fantasy draft. Donald Brown looks like he's the favorite running back for fantasy owners when we talk about the Colts running back, and he could present tremendous fantasy value this season. Currently in 12-team leagues, going off the board is running back 30 in the beginning of the 7th round. That's tremendous value for a guy who's most likely going to be the lead back. New Colts head coach Chuck Pagano is going to have a run-heavy offense with rookie quarterback Andrew Luck, and Donald Brown only has to beat out DeLon Carter in training camp for the starting position. We fully expect that he will do that and could put up solid running back 2 numbers for your fantasy team. Oh, Mikel LeSure, this is the guy we started motorboating because of him. Because of his tremendous ability as a power back, as a runner, as a receiver out of the backfield. Then the Achilles injury last season that caused him to miss his entire rookie season. Then the not 1 but 2 off-season arrests for marijuana possession. And speaking of 2, he's going to miss 2 games, suspended at the beginning of this season. Now, for training camp, he should be ready to go. Should look like the Mikel LeSure we're used to seeing from his college film at Illinois, but going to miss those first 2 games. Of course, Lions head coach Jim Schwartz says he can help between the tackles as a short yardage and goal line specialist. He could be, in fact, even much more than that because he has the talent to be a feature back. Just right now, he's sitting behind Lions' starting running back job at Best. But if Best is hurt, LeSure could be great fantasy value right now going off the board at running back 39 at the end of the 9th round. According to reports, Jay Cutler has been making better decisions with the football and Bears OTAs and mini camps. He should continue that trend into the regular season. And the Bears made a great decision when they decided to bounce Mike Martz. No more of those 7-step drops that has Cutler holding onto the ball forever and getting sacked, getting injured, as he did last year. Now, if Cutler stays healthy, my goodness, what a great quarterback value for your fantasy team. A guy that we see could finish the year as a top 10 fantasy quarterback. Reunited with Brandon Marshall, all they did was catch 100 passes in a season. That was standard when the two were together with the Denver Broncos. We, in fact, expect Marshall to get that 100-reception plateau once again this season. It only means great things for Jay Cutler, who you can pick up as the 16th or 15th quarterback off the board. Somewhere in the 9th round, you can pick up Cutler, and he could be an every-week starter for your fantasy team. Let's talk some Seahawks wide receivers. Now, there's 3 receivers that are pretty much a lock to make the final roster. Sidney Rice, Doug Baldwin, Golden Tate. After that, there's some talent there that you need to know about, and a guy specifically in Kris Durham, the former Georgia Bulldog receiver. I've heard some very good things from my Seahawks sources about his progress and development as a pro. This is a kid that I saw at the 2011 NFLPA game down in San Antonio. Kind of reminds scouts of former Broncos wide receiver Ed McCaffrey. Not afraid to run routes over the middle, has strong hands and good concentration. Kris Durham is a guy to keep an eye on in your Dynasty League. It's time for our Twitter question of the week. Hey, make sure you follow us on Twitter at FootballGuysTV. This week's question comes in from at WMax719. He says, hey, with all the recent trend of going to running back by committee, is it in fact too risky to take a running back in the top 10? Well, actually, WMax719, it's the exact opposite. With the limitations of running backs, with there only being a handful of those true feature back, The stud running back theory has returned. With the pass-happy league that this NFL has become, we know that quarterback is extremely deep. Just told you about Jay Cutler. You can get him as quarterback 15. That's crazy. Wide receiver, extremely deep. You've watched this show. I've talked about Brandon Lloyd. He's coming off the board as wide receiver 20. He could be your wide receiver 1 in your fantasy draft. So quarterback and wide receiver, extremely deep. Running back, on the other hand, extremely thin. So in that top 10, even if you're sitting around picks 9 or 10, that's the time to take your Marshawn Lynch. Lord knows Ryan Matthews isn't going to fall that far, but Marshawn Lynch, Trent Richardson in that spot at the end of the first round, it's not too much of a reach. It's not too much of a stretch because the position is so thin the further down you get in your fantasy draft. From the GoMileHigh.com studios, that's a wrap for this week's edition of Football Guys TV. Hey, I want to remind you to check out our free daily newsletter at footballguys.com every morning, right to your inbox, the latest news and notes from around the NFL with comments and opinions from footballguys.com. From my man, Rob Wagner, man in the box!
Get back in that box!
I'm Cecil Lammey saying thanks for watching, stay tuned, and stay frosty.